Hello guys, we are going into chapter 5 today, respect for yourself in a professional capacity. So our objectives today are name 2 types of bonds that can develop among work colleagues, understanding the differences between an intimate and personal help, and then a social and therapeutic relationships because they are separate. What is a patient helper and why is it important? And then the importance of teamwork as a PTA identifies several healthcare professionals you may be working with. So the traditional term of a helping professional was typically used when someone was giving a one-on-one care with the patient. So the doctor to the patient that doctor was considered a helping professional. But it's sort of changed that where if you are in direct contact with someone, you are a helping professional. So if we think about outside of who those are, we know about doctors, we know about PTs, PTAs, but you have your PSSs who will have person-to-person contact. You have your aides who will also have person-to-person contact. The food service at the hospital, they have person-to-person contact. Those are all helping professionals in the field that you're going to be working with, that you may yourself have to be working with at some point. So there is an intimate versus personal help, and then in a few slides, we're going to talk about a social and therapeutic relationship. If you think about the two, the intimate versus personal help / care, this is going to be considered the person itself. Later on in a few slides, that social and therapeutic is the activity instead of the person. So again, I'm going to say that again, the intimate and versus personal help, we're talking about the person themselves. And then later we're going to say the social and therapeutic is the activity that they're doing, not the person. So if we talk about intimate versus personal helper, an intimate helper is someone that offers help to someone else they love or willing to do a huge favor for out of a deep gratitude. You'd be able to risk danger to yourself for this person, sort of like taking a bullet for that person or jumping in front of a car. These are going to be your family and close friends. A personal helper is someone that would offer help to an acquaintance or strangers. It is an investment in the well-being of others, but should be distinguished from intimate involvement. This is helping that person without getting personally intertwined or personally involved. These are sort of giving the directions, assisting a person physically. Random acts of kindness fall under here. And so these are not people that you're close with, that you would do something really big for, just sort of these simple tasks. Social helping relationships focus on the activities rather than the degree of involvement with the person in a social setting. So if we're talking about helping a kid cross the street, paying a visit to a lonely neighbor, this is those, quote, pay it forward kind of feelings. And you're sort of taking an unselfish approach. You're worried about other people there's no motivation for yourself other than the welfare of others. And you'll see altruistic, the definition is unselfishly concerned for or devoted to the welfare of others. Worried about other people over yourself. Offers of help aren't always welcome by others. And I'm sure that we can all think of an example that we've had in our head. But there is an example on page 83 of your book. On weekends, the student cared for a 13-year-old boy with paraplegia who ambulated with the help of a chair. One Saturday, the student and boy were shopping in a large department store and paused at a vending machine for a Coke. First, the student bought a soft drink for his young friend and then turned to buy one for himself. The boy had just taken his first sip and was resting the can on the arm of his wheelchair when a woman, laden with bundles, rushed up and dropped $1 in his lap. She patted the astonished boy on the head and exclaimed, "Poor, poor boy, I hope that helps you get better." She then gathered her packages and scurried away. As you see, that isn't always welcomed by the boy who was in the wheelchair. It was a different kind of motive for the person. And it's not, sometimes the help isn't always appreciated. A social relationship versus a therapeutic relationship. you'll see that the social relationship may be an intimate or personal act. There are a different wide variety of sources, and that therapeutic relationship is a personal but not intimate act. And you will need your skill uses to actually utilize a therapeutic relationship. A therapeutic relationship develops when the professional caregiver performs professionally competent acts designed to benefit the person who needs his or her services. And who does that sound like? That's you guys. That's the PTAs. You are professionally competent and you're just doing these acts designed to benefit your patient who needs your services. And that's where you would fall, is under this therapeutic relationship. It does not necessarily require a long contact session or long treatment time. Sometimes, like vestibular, they may only need you once, and that would be it. Or they need you once to get a certain program so they can perform on their own. It is really any activity that professional does that draws competence that can be classified as professionally appropriate. This chapter did talk a little bit about different settings, and don't be alarmed that if you start working, you don't really like working with patients. That's okay. There are many different settings that you can work in. You can work in inpatient, you can work in outpatient, rehab, skilled nursing, nursing homes. There's assisted livings. There's really a lot of different settings that you can venture out to, but also you could do laboratory work, you could do research, you could do management, teaching. There's different kinds of fields that you can you're not just limited to one, you're not just limited to just outpatient. You have a lot of different options in your field that you can go to if one doesn't work for you. There are two mechanisms that help succeed optimal care, and that's referral and teamwork. So referral is the method of ensuring that a person who seeks professional services will receive optimal care while not having to depend on one certain capacity or resource. So your doctor might refer them out to PT. If they refer them to PT and you find that your services aren't what the patient needs, they might need another referral out. But that's only to make sure that your patient is receiving the best care that they can get and that we're being honest about it. If we can't help them in PT, we shouldn't be treating them just to get the money. And then different teams and teamwork. Typically it's PT and PTA, but you will be working with CODAs, OTRs. Those are just a few examples. I'm sure you could write down a list right now of different people that you will be working with. How can you work together? Who else? Nurses? Respiratory therapist? I mean, we could keep going with the list, really. This is sort of that interdisciplinary healthcare team. The team approach helps to work together towards the patient's well-being, making sure that the patient is getting all of their needs met and not just by one person. Healthcare institutions have two broad categories of action. There's a hierarchy-derived decisions and community-derived decisions, and you sort of see that depending on the corporation or the facility that you work in will work for one or the other. Hierarchy-derived decisions are decisions flow from few people but affect everyone. Typically, this is big corporations where they make the decision higher up and then they tell everyone underneath what to do. Where community-derived decisions, decisions that are made equally throughout the institution. All caregivers with different skills function together, and they are all working together to make a decision for the facility. The healthcare professionals don't only carry out the policies, but they help to create them. And it talks about the bottom-up approach where everyone is involved in the decision-making process, not just the people up top. We talked about this a little bit last chapter with putting family and friends first. It still works the same when you're working in a professional capacity. Friends and family can be an immediate source of support for you if you're struggling, if you're feeling the burnout feeling, which we talked about yesterday, or chapter 4, whenever you listen to the chapter. They can be that immediate support system for you. Establish your habits early on so your family and friends are able to help and work, and that work doesn't always take over. Professional resources and support is also helpful. Again, I think there is a stigma on mental health. I am perfectly fine talking about mine. I have issues with it sometimes where I feel overwhelmed or anxious. And I think that we need to make sure that we're using the resources available. A lot of companies have an EAP program, which is an employee assistance program, that you can kind of tap into, that there are services free for you. Typically, there's counselors that you can talk to, lawyers that you can talk to, and you just want to be able to make sure that you're finding that healthy balance between your professional life and your work life. When we're working with these people, we have to understand that we are with them half of your work week. You work with these people 40 hours a week. And the fact that you are all caring and that you have the same motivation to be there with your patients. You want everyone to get better, not just to get a paycheck in your pocket. There's a reason why you guys are all there. There's a bond of gratitude. And I don't think that we say thank you enough to the people that we work with. Making sure that you show signs of these gratitude. You are appreciated. You remember people's birthdays. You remember if they had a scan for a possible tumor. You know, you're checking up on the people that you're working with. And that's important. And if you're doing that for others, they will do it for you. We also have a language that bonds us. There's a certain way a healthcare professional talks, and we all understand that kind of language between each other. Environments that encourage support, and when we're talking about the bonds that we just talked about last slide, doing those things can help reduce the tension within your facility. And not just, they can really be a source of support, but you have to be willing to use that source of support and not just push it aside. You want to make sure that you find someone who's going to be willing to help you and guide you, especially when you're someone new at a facility. Make sure that it's not just all work and no play. Make sure that you're having fun, that you're laughing. You guys all know my would you rather questions. I had an entire book of those. So every once in a while, I would just pull those out and get the patients involved and the people involved, and it would get everyone kind of closer and more close-knit, and that was important for me. The more stressed and upset you are with you or the employees, the worse it's going to feel. There is a thing called water cooler. Typically there's an area in the facility where you can kind of gather or have lunch, a common area, and make sure that you're utilizing that. That's important for you. The next slide is just a summary. You can read this on your own. If you have any questions for me, please let me know. I am happy to answer them. Otherwise, we will see you and we'll chat on the next chapter. Thanks, guys. Bye.